Hello everyone, and it's time to tell you about our day 4 adventure in Iceland. On this day, we decided to explore the southwest coast and travel to the Snæfellsnes Peninsula, about 350 kilometers one way. The drive itself took us almost 8.5 hours, but we spent just as much time stopping, exploring, and enjoying the incredible scenery along the way. Our first stop was Ytri Tunga beach, where we saw seals often resting on a rock along the shoreline. It was a wonderful place to observe wildlife in this natural environment. After that, we visit the famous Londrangar rock formation. This place feels almost otherworldly, with powerful waves and breathtaking coastal views. Of course, we also visited Snæfellsjökull National Park, where we saw the magnificent Snæfellsjökull Glacier. The glacier-covered volcano is one of the Iceland's most iconic natural landmarks. Our final destination of the day was Kirkjufell Mountain, one of the most photographed mountains in Iceland. With its unique shape and the nearby waterfall, it creates a truly unforgettable landscape. It was a long day on the road, but every stop made the journey absolutely worth it. When we left Bitra guest house, we drove through a very dramatic mountain area covered in snow. The landscape was almost entirely black and white, which is in many ways feels like true face of Iceland. As you drive through the country, something remarkable happens. Every few kilometers the scenery changes completely. One moment you see snow mountains, the next moment dark lava fields, the open valley or cliff along the ocean. At every turn there is something new that immediately catches your eye. In those moments you begin to feel that you are traveling through a timeless landscape, a world that seems almost untouched, a place shaped thousands or even millions of years ago. As we approach the southwest coast, the weather changed again. First it started raining, but we already knew that in Iceland the weather can change very quickly, sometimes within just a few minutes, and that is exactly what happened. Soon after rain, the sunshine appeared again. We were driving about 200 kilometers towards a place where many people say you can see many seals and birds from a relatively short distance. Along the way, we passed so many beautiful places that we tried to stop whenever it was possible. Sometimes we stopped near a green valley, sometimes near an unusual rock formation, and sometimes in a mountains area. What was truly amazing was how quickly the landscape kept changing as we moved forward. It also felt very different compared to the scenery along the southwest coast of the Iceland. Each region has its own unique character, and our first long stop was the Ytri Tunga. This is one of the most well-known seal-watching beaches in Iceland, located on the southern side of the Snæfellsnes Peninsula. Most beaches in Iceland have black volcanic sand, but Ytri Tunga is unusual because it has golden-colored sand. This lighter sand comes from the shell fragments and sediment rather than basaltic volcanic rock, which is why the beach looks different from much of Iceland's coastline. The two species most often seen there are harbor seal, which are the most common, and gray seals, which are occasionally visible. During low tide, the water retreats and you can actually walk on the parts of the ocean floor. The first thing that impresses you is enormous amount of seaweed with many different colors and structure. It really feels like a living ecosystem, large kelp and seaweed forests with small marine animals. As you walk along the shore, you begin to notice how rich and diverse the marine life is. It makes you wonder how even in such a cold environment, the abundance of the sea plants and animals can be so remarkable. Unlike Iceland's dramatic cliffs or black beaches with crashing waves, Ytri Tunga feels peaceful and quiet. After visiting the seals, we continue our journey to Londrangar, one of the most dramatic coastal landmarks of the Snæfellsnes Peninsula. The Snæfellsnes Peninsula is one of the most remarkable regions in Iceland. It lies on the western coast of the country and stretches roughly 90 kilometers into the Atlantic Ocean. Many Icelanders call this region Iceland in a miniature. The reason is simple. In a relatively small area, you can see almost every type of landscape that exists in Iceland. Londrangar consists of two striking basalt rock formations rising sharply from the ocean cliffs. These towering rocks are actually the remains of an ancient volcanic crater, where the softer surrounding material was gradually eroded by wind and waves, leaving behind the much harder volcanic plugs. The larger formation reached about 75 meters high, while the smaller one reached about 61 meters. Standing there and looking at these dark basalt towers against the ocean, you really feel the power of Iceland's volcanic past. The area is also an important seabird nesting site, and during the summer months, the cliffs are full of birds flying around and resting on a rock. After exploring the cliffs, we stopped nearby at Stapinn in the village of Arnarstapi, where we had very fresh and delicious food. Many places along this coast serve seafood caught the same day, and the taste is truly unforgettable after a long day of travel and exploring. In Arnarstapi, there is a famous stone statue of a giant called Bardur Snæfellsnes. According to the Icelandic legend, Bardur was a half-man, half-troll protector of the Snæfellsnes Peninsula. The story says that after a tragic conflict with his family, Bardur disappeared into the Snæfellsjökull glacier and became a kind of guardian spirit of the region. Icelanders believe he still protects the land and the people living there. The large stone sculpture in Arnarstapi represent this legendary figure. Because of its size and rough stone appearance, many visitors say it looked like a stone giant standing by the ocean. So when you see those two dramatic basalt towers of Londrangar, locals sometimes jokingly say they look like two stone giants rising from the sea, and the statue of Bardur Snæfellsnes in Arnarstapi fits perfectly into that mythological atmosphere. This mix of geology, nature, and old Icelandic legends is one of the things that makes the Snæfellsnes Peninsula feel so mysterious and unforgettable. Then we move toward Snæfellsjökull glacier at Snæfellsjökull National Park. This glacier-covered volcano is one of the Iceland's most famous natural landmarks, rising about 1,446 meters above the sea level. Snæfellsjökull dominates the western end of the peninsula and can sometimes even be seen from Reykjavik, almost 120 kilometers away on very clear day. The mountain itself is actually a stratovolcano covered by a glacier, which gives it a very dramatic appearance, dark volcanic rock hidden under ice and snow. The last known eruption of Snæfellsjökull occurred around 1800 years ago, and the lava flows from those eruptions still shape much of the surrounding landscape. This mountain became world famous because Jules Verne chose it as entrance to the underground world in his novel Journey to the Center of the Earth. Because of this story, Snæfellsjökull has developed a kind of mystical reputation, and some people even believe the area has special energy. Then we continue driving towards Snæfellsjökull National Park, home of the famous glacier. We didn't have too much time to explore the entire park because we wanted to reach another well-known place before the evening. But along the way we stopped at a very interesting and unusual location called Rauðsfellsgjógr Gorge. From the outside it looked like a very narrow fissure between two massive rocks, almost like a hidden doorway into the mountain. When you approach it, it really feels as if you are entering some mysterious passage. Sometimes that reminds you of adventure movie where explorers disappear through the narrow opening between cliffs. This gorge is actually a deep canyon carved into the mountain, and inside a small stream and a tiny waterfall flows through the rock. The steep walls rise dramatically on both sides, creating a very impressive and almost magical atmosphere. The place is also connected with old Icelandic legends. According to the local saga, A man named Hrothgaldur was pushed into this gorge by Barthur Snæfellsnes, the legendary protector of Snæfellsnes Peninsula, who is said to live inside the nearby Snæfellsjökull glacier. Even though we stayed there only for a short time, it was a fascinating stop. Standing at the entrance of the gorge, you really feel how powerful nature is in this part of the Iceland, where volcano, glaciers, and ancient story all seems to come together. If you would like to visit Snæfellsjökull National Park, you really need a whole day, and even better, 2 days to explore it properly. The area is large and full of incredible natural sights, lava fields, cliffs, coastal view, and the glacier itself. That is probably why we saw many new, modern small hotels and motels around this region. More and more travelers are choosing to stay here longer to experience the peninsula fully. We definitely told ourselves that when we come to Iceland again, we will return to this place and stay longer to explore the park more carefully. After that, we continue our journey to what is probably one of the most photographed landscapes in all of Iceland, Kirkjufell Mountain. When we first arrived at the airport in Iceland, we saw a huge poster on a wall showing this mountain. At that moment we were wondering, will we actually see this place? Will we be able to go there and see this beautiful mountain with our own eyes? And in the end, we did. Standing there and looking at the Kirkjufell with its perfect shape rising above the surrounding landscape was truly unforgettable. For us, it became one of the most remarkable moments of our entire trip. The name Kirkjufell means church mountain in Icelandic. The mountain is about 463 meters high, and its shape is very unusual, almost perfectly symmetrical, rising sharply from the surrounding landscape. Because of this distinctive form, its look different from every angle and always appear very dramatic in photographs. Right next to the mountain is the beautiful Kirkjufellsfoss waterfall. When photographers stand near the waterfall, they can capture both the waterfall and the mountain in one frame, which is why this view has become one of the most iconic images of Iceland. Kirkjufell became even more famous after it appears in the television series Game of the Thrones, where it was called Arrowhead Mountain. Kirkjufell is not only famous for photographs, it is also a place that people can climb. There is a secure hiking route leading to the summit. The climb usually takes about 1 to 1.5 hours, depending on the weather and hiking condition. From the top, hikers can see the harbor, the surrounding fjord, and the entire landscape of the Snæfellsnes Peninsula. The view are said to be spectacular. However, when we arrived, the weather was wet and the mountain slopes were quite slippery. We also realized that the guided tour, which usually leads people safely to the top, had already started earlier. By the time we got there, we could already see hikers halfway up the mountains. Because of the weather and the lack of a guide, we decided not to climb the mountain on our own. Safety comes first, especially in Iceland, where conditions can change quickly. So next time we return to Iceland, we will come back to Kirkjufell, join a guided hike, and finally reach the top to see those incredible views ourselves. And finally, we arrived to Ólafsvík, a small fishing town on the north coast of the Snæfellsnes Peninsula. It is a charming coastal town with a harbor full of fishing boats, surrounded by mountains and the open ocean. The town itself is very colorful and peaceful, with traditional Icelandic houses and a strong connection to the sea. Fishing has been an important part of the life here for many generations. We spent some time walking around the harbor, watching the boats, and enjoying the calm atmosphere of this beautiful place. After such a long and exciting day exploring the peninsula, it was a very pleasant and relaxing stop. After that, we began our drive back to our guest house, ending another unforgettable day of our Iceland adventure. That was our day 4 in Iceland. If you like this video, please press like, and we will see you on day 5 of our last day in this beautiful country.